We are live. Jessica in Canada. Way over to Bernd. And what mountains, what beach, what field are you in, Bernd?
Not a mountain, not a beach. I'm in the north of France, somewhere between Lille and Paris, so in Arras.
Oh, and us. And I have asked Bernd to come because Bernd is one of our special guests at the Change Festival happening in October 25th, 27th in Barcelona. And do you speak Spanish, Bernd?
I have to brush up my Spanish, and I don't speak Catalan, but I will brush up my Spanish. It's a good occasion, and I haven't been to Barcelona for about 30 years or something. So shows you how old I am. But
Wow, that'll be interesting. You were one of the only non-Spanish people back then. Now it's full of people that look like us.
Okay.
Bernd is talking and doing a workshop, a very experiential workshop on an extremely important topic. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys on LinkedIn. To those of you watching live, thank you to that one person. And to the rest of you who are watching it after Bernd and I are done having a drink at the beach, relaxing together in Canada, north of France, then you're going to walk away from this learning more about rituals and how to make them more joyful. And our society, Bernd and I have a German background, Bernd and JessicaBreitenfeld, yes. And rituals were not talked about in my childhood. And I have a Nigerian husband. And I know that rituals still form a very important part of many African cultures and tribes. And I wonder, is that coming back in style? Or is this just something that we wish would be more important in our culture, Ben?
I think rituals are around us also in Western cultures, and we may not label them rituals, but they're everywhere. There's a ritual I remember from my childhood. I was raised in a religious family. I'm not that religious today, but I still have a lot of these values. And my father was very active in the Salvation Army, and one of the rituals they had was testimonies. So people standing up talking about how they, their connection with Jesus or something that happened to them and so on. And I recently thought about this, and I thought, yeah, okay, I don't like this kind of ritual really as it is, but I like the essence of it. If you go down to the root of what it is, it's about sharing. It's about sharing a personal event that is important to you and could be meaningful for others. So I started to use this in my learning experiences, and I call them fireworks. So people just share for 2 or 3 minutes without any slides, without any notes. And they may prepare it or not, or just spontaneously. And the idea is to spark an idea, to add to the subject, and but it has to be with a personal connection, personal story.
So you have a ritual in all of your learning experiences?
I think so. Yes. I mean, one of the rituals that probably many of the viewers can relate to at the moment is around the Olympics. We have the Olympics here in France, and one of the rituals is, for example, the Olympic flame. And it has been going on forever. So there's always been the Olympic flame, as far as I know. But this year, they managed to innovate, right? So there was still the Olympic flame, but now the cauldron is actually not fire at all. It's actually water and light, I read. And it's now not a fixed thing, but it's a balloon. And so every night it goes up in the air. And it's very impressive. So you don't have to perform the same ritual all the time. You can also innovate, but it's still the same ritual because the symbolism and the essence is there.
So the theme of our conference, which you're attending, is about shifting habits. And so I came from a more it's practical, and because I suffer with switching a habit of mine, and I'm going to seek your advice on this. And so I'm wondering, could you give me some insights into, a problem that many, well, let's just be honest, me, since I've been 16, have had: diet. all the 16-year-old kids were eating cookies after their peanut butter sandwich in Canada, small town Canada, and I was eating rye bread with leberwurst, an apple, and yogurt because I had to start dieting at a young age because of my father's genes. So if I've tried to make a habit of dieting, of starving myself, of punishing myself, and it really hasn't worked for 20 some years, do you have any ideas how to change habits into rituals?
Yes, for me, the basic difference between, I mean, both of them are about regularity. A habit is something you do regularly, and a ritual as well. But there are huge differences in there. Habits are not necessarily chosen. You develop habits like smoking, sometimes bad habits, or, making coffee in a particular way, or drinking coffee at a particular time, and so on. So taking the same way home or whatever. So these could be habits. What makes it a ritual is to give it more meaning, not to go from routine to fun or to something more meaningful. So adding something to it. So, for instance, making coffee can turn into a ritual if you have a particular procedure of doing this, or a great espresso machine, and it has to be exactly right. And so you spend about 10 minutes in the morning actually making your coffee and then serving your coffee, right? So, and that can turn into a ritual, and then it's more deliberate, it's more chosen. And I think the problem with most diets is that they're about the cognitive part. So, okay, this is what you should do, and this is what you should do, and this is what you have to do, and you have to keep up with this and keep a record and so on. And it's not much fun. So what you need to discover is basically something that motivates you, something that is fun. And it depends on every person. As for me, I changed eating habits a couple of times, and I had to actually discover the joy of doing this. For example, I used to live somewhere near the sea for a while, and I developed the habit of eating fresh fish from the market. And then it became so much fun actually going to the market and choosing it and preparing it and grilling it and sharing it and so on, that it turned into a ritual, and it became something regularly done and shared. Very often it's also about community. So a ritual is done with other people. So one of the tricks could be, okay, find a partner you can go to the gym with, or you can do a diet with, or develop recipes that are great and very enjoyable and very delicious, but maybe a little less
punitive. What is that word? Like if you eat that. And I was thinking too, if I'm going to eat something bad, I might as well enjoy eating it, because most of the time I eat it with guilt, and half the pleasure is gone. And I know the French, since you live close to Lille, you guys eat a little bit of everything, and you're famous for that. So is there I don't know, this is a random question, but is there a more ritualistic community feeling with food that allows the French to keep fantastic health and bodies while they eat butter and cheese every day, stereotypically?
Yes, I think it's speed. I think French people generally, when they eat together, they eat more slowly, and it's more a social event than just putting food into your body. and I think if you eat more, and if you eat more slowly and you have a glass of wine or two, very, very, very rarely do you see people drunk after a meal. So it's 1 or 2 glasses of wine, maybe 3, but that's it, and it's kind of balanced, right? So and it takes a bit of time, and you talk a lot, and maybe you walk there and you walk back home and things like that. So it's a question of balance, I think. But yes, definitely indulge in whatever you want to eat. I think that's important.
Did you hear that, everyone? Especially my husband. I have permission to indulge. There's a saying that is my favorite, and it's probably made up, but It's something like, scientifically, there's research to show that it's more important who you eat with than what you eat for longevity and health.
Yes. Now, I have a question for you. Do you like vegetables?
Oh, I hate them. I hate them.
I used to hate them. I used to hate them
And then,
until I discovered that if you don't buy them at a supermarket, but if you buy them on the market and you choose them and you smell them and you ask for advice, okay, are they in season, and so on, and then you discover they actually taste great, and and then also there are different ways of actually preparing vegetables. You can make a salad, but you can also cook them or fry them or whatever. So maybe you haven't discovered vegetables really.
I like that. I think that is the key to my rest of my life, is discovering the ritual of enjoying vegetables. I already got the enjoying butter and cheese, but that's not doing so well for me.
I think it's all about the sensory experience. I mean, you basically, probably most people associate vegetables with something that is necessary, like chores, right? So we have to do it. We have to eat vegetables, but we don't really like them. And the French are not much better at this, because if you go to a typical French restaurant, there's not much. There's maybe one pea and one carrot on the plate, and the rest is meat and sauces and butter and potatoes. Okay, they count as vegetables, but very often they come as fries, so it's not that healthy actually. But then you have this kind of culture that's coming up about salad bars and about and that can be very delicious, right? Because and also you can pick and choose, and you can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So it is something that is probably more enjoyable than having some vegetables on your plate that are overcooked, not very tasty, and you just eat them because you have to eat them.
I'm looking forward to your workshop, because I think making something into a ritual where you take the time and you're conscious about it, well, I suppose that's mindfulness, being aware in the moment of what you're doing. And so if you're like me, stuffing your face with a donut because you're feeling sad, that's my go-to therapy. Or if you're smoking subconsciously, not subconsciously because you have to consciously light it, but with the unconscious addiction, and you're able to change smoking or overeating into a ritual, you are 1,000 steps ahead of actually overcoming those problems, if we're honest about it, because there's awareness, and without awareness, nothing changes. So is that also a motivation for you? Rituals help you become more aware of, well, have you even thought about this? Like rituals for bad vices?
Yes, definitely. I mean, one of the things about rituals today is that they get us away from the connections. Most of us are addicted to our phones and to social media and to being connected all the time. And if you perform a ritual, like a learning ritual, in a classroom or in a training room or whatever, in a learning experience, people don't check their phones. People are just there. They're just, experiencing the moment. They're really in the moment. If you perform it well, because there's an element of celebration in it. For example, recently, or very often, I use the idea of the magic circle, which originally, of course, comes from it goes back a long time, right? So Egyptian cultures, Indian cultures, Buddhism, but it's also part of, for example, game design, right? The magic circle has a different meaning in games, but what all these rituals have in common is basically the connection, and it's creating a safe space, and that it's a circle, right? You don't sit like in a classroom, you sit in a circle, so everybody is equal. Everybody has the same point or different points of views, of course, but everybody sees everybody, and it's a place for sharing. And very often I start these circles with silence. And sometimes I use a little Tibetan bowl or whatever sound, which evokes also the idea of magic and a circle. And the advantage is that it gives people, usually when you ask a question, there's always a hand that goes up immediately, and then you're tempted to ask this person, okay, fine, what's your idea? But it's always the same people who take the floor. And by creating this moment of silence, it allows everybody to form their ideas, and then you can really share. And you don't change your ideas necessarily, you just share what you have thought about, and that has become a very, very important part of my my learning experiences. And the bad habit would be to not listen carefully, to disconnect, not to have undivided attention. But if you're in a magic circle and you have nothing, no paper, nothing in front of you, just the others, that's powerful and very unusual, especially for young people.
I wouldn't know. Nice. I feel calmer just listening to you even talk about breathing and silence in a circle.
Yeah.
It's interesting how even words.
I have a question for you. Is there a ritual, or now that you heard my definition of rituals or my idea of rituals, is there a ritual in where you are in Canada, or something that you would identify as a ritual?
I grew up in the church as well, and of course they had rituals. The baptism was a big deal, and so I understood that was a big deal when you committed yourself. And I wonder if we did things like Sweet 16 birthday parties, or the graduation ceremony, the parties for when women are pregnant, the bachelorette parties. I suppose these are all rituals, and I'd never thought of them like that. I thought they're just things that people do in my culture.
Yeah.
And I guess we have more. But I had this like I've heard of a ritual in a part of Africa of circumcision on older males, and they're not allowed to flinch. They're not allowed to move while it's happening. And if you're able to do that through that intense, I don't know, but I imagine incredibly intense pain, you're now a man.
Right.
And of course, we would consider that abuse here, and you would go to jail if you ever did that to another male. And so I'm like, what makes something a ritual and sacred? Well, that's cultural. We only have 3 minutes left, but the idea is very fascinating to someone who grew up in the Western world without any talk of spiritualism or deep breath or being present to quite typical German parents. So I think it'll be very interesting for us, which were European trainers at the event, to consider how to put rituals into our trainings that we've already been doing 10, 20, 30 years, and how to elevate the importance of something or to help people feel more connected. I think that'll be really valuable for the rest of the attendees. Do you have any sneak peek into that in the last 2 minutes that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, basically, if you take one of these rituals, like the 16th birthday parties or whatever, so if you look at these rituals, well, there is what people do, so you can describe what the ritual is, and then why people do this. Okay, it's the 16th birthday, but what is the deeper meaning of these? When you get to this lower level of what is the deeper meaning, yes, it's maybe connection, it's maybe friendship, it's celebrating life or whatever it is, then maybe you can do something like a 16th birthday party or whatever it is, or a pregnancy party, and use it for other occasions. Like I use the testimonies from church for other, reinvent them, if you like. We could reinvent the Olympic flame. Okay, we're not running Olympics, but how could we use the Olympic flame in a training
At a conference?
At a conference, yes.
The opening flame runner.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. We are having a beach party on the Friday night. We could have some sort of a flame on the beach, and we could divide into the different countries and maybe sing part of our anthem or sing a song. Maybe we could prepare that with the participants.
Wow.
Right?
You see?
It's the opening ceremony. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Or the lighters. Who knows? Oh, okay, we're doing that. It's going on the agenda.
Yes.
We do have a ceremony and a ritual. I don't know if you saw it on the agenda yet. We fixed the agenda. Melanie did that yesterday. And we have a Burning Man band?
Yeah. I've never been, but I know it, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to choose the thing that we love to wear the most, but we're not really brave enough or allowed to wear it in society. So we're going to be having a ceremony when we're wearing this that we love, and we're going to be doing a ritual, a marry yourself ritual with Barbara from the USA.
Yes.
She's what are those people? The people that marry people? That woman, the person at the front?
Yes.
She's one, yeah, she's one of those. And we're going to marry one of our values, something that we love about ourselves. Yeah. So it's elevating it from like, I marry myself, from that hippie energy of like commitment to ourselves, to a more practical thing. And also make it into a ritual so that we appreciate our weakness to donuts, perhaps. And then maybe I can make peace with it and stop doing it. You know, there's also what you resist persists. So maybe bringing in this consciousness, there's also balance, as the French do. So that's what I'm taking away from you. Balance, community, making rituals joyful, being conscious, and breathing.
Yeah.
So awareness.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned the marry yourself ceremony. Barbara actually brought me to this event, so yes, and she told me about this. I didn't want to give it away, but I'm glad you're mentioning it. So that's a perfect example of using an existing ritual and turning it into something new and meaningful for the community, and I think that will be very powerful.
It will be. It's a highlight of our event. I have so many clothes that I want to wear and so many things I want to marry. I wonder if I can marry more than one. It's the 90s. I can marry as much as I want. Bernd, this was super fascinating. And it's really shifted something for me and how I look at when I eat the things that I think I shouldn't, with a more French perspective, and also a ritualistic experience with the vegetables. That's a far push, but I'm young. I can still learn that. And I look forward to seeing you in Barcelona.
Barcelona, I'm so excited. Yes, thank you very much for inviting me, and looking forward to seeing you there.
Yes.
All the best.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.